No, it's not true what they say, that the only actors who do cabaret are the unemployed ones. That would be uncharitable, and I will not hear of it. That's the kind of trash talk we save for podcasters. There, I've said it. Now, in this video, I want to give you 12 reasons why every musical theatre performer should have their own cabaret show. So if you ever thought, maybe, hopefully this will push you over the edge. In a good way. Hi, I'm Scott. You're watching Inside Musicals, the channel for all things musical theatre. Now, cabaret is as unique as the performer performing it. It can include elements of concert, variety, vaudeville, revue, burlesque even. But I want to distinguish it from, say, a one-person play like Shirley Valentine, or even a solo musical like Andrew Lloyd Webber's Tell Me on a Sunday. Yes, cabaret can be scripted. There can be more than one of you on the stage. It can have a narrative. There are songs. And you might even be playing a character of sorts. But the difference with cabaret is there's no fourth wall. In theatre, we have the conceit of an invisible barrier between the world of the character and the world of the audience that we call the fourth wall. The audience can see in, but the character can't see the audience. The performer can, but this is the veil of make-believe. But in cabaret, we acknowledge the audience. We address them directly, much like you would in stand-up comedy. Even in a large venue, it can feel more intimate than musical theatre because of the way we connect with the audience. So if you'd like to know how to craft a perfect cabaret, drop me a line in the comments. But today is why we should do it. And the first reason is to employ ourselves. And it's not just about the income, it's about driving our own destiny. It's easy to think we have to wait for jobs to come our way. But cabaret is something we can write between shows. We can perform between shows for momentum, continuity. And whether it's one night only or a whole season, this is something we can piggyback off the success of a show we've just been in. And once we've created this thing, we can perform it for a couple of years. Different venues, different cities, different audiences. We can plug into the festival circuit, into arts, music, comedy, cabaret festivals. And those are things we can book ahead of time to either slot between jobs we have or to know we have work coming up. Now, the second reason to have our own show is for a bigger piece of the pie. And I think I've mentioned this before. As a producer, yes, there are costs, yes, there are risks, but as a performer, we get more of what comes through the door. In most shows, as an employee, you don't get a bonus for a bigger audience. And unless you're a Hollywood A-lister in a big Broadway production, you're probably not seeing a split of the profits. But here, the bigger the house, the bigger the return. You can perfect the show in a smaller venue where the costs are lower, then graduate to a larger one as the show gathers an audience. Just as a side tip, agents don't always take a commission for self-devised projects. But they also don't like it when those projects take us away from paid work. So offer them a commission if they'll handle some of the admin. Make them work for it. Now, the third reason to do cabaret is to increase your casting value. If you're not getting work, if you're not getting the roles you want, this is your chance to be seen in the lead role that carries a show. In musical theatre, if you're in the ensemble of a couple of shows, you start to be seen by producers as ensemble material, whether they admit it or not. Or if you're a swing and you're good at it, you might be more valuable to them as a swing, and that's where you'll stay. So your own show can shift a producer's perception of what you're capable of. And building on that, the fourth reason is to showcase the breadth of our talents. In a musical, the character you play is only a slice of what you can do. But in cabaret, you can do anything. So do it all. Play to your strengths, but reveal some hidden talents. If you're known for serious roles, find some levity. If you're known as a comic actor, find some depth, some heart. In cabaret, it's all fair game, but the more outrageous, the better. This is where we get to take risks. Maybe you can juggle while singing opera. Maybe you do an impression of Cher singing Mama Rose in Gypsy. Like the lights. Hey, it's a work in progress. Or maybe you have the confidence to stand there naked, painting yourself, singing Lydia the Tattooed Lady. No, I'm not showing you that one. That you'd have to pay for. That brings us to number 5, creative freedom. When you write your own show, you're not beholden to a director or someone else's script. This is entirely your vision, what you can get up to when left to your own devices. And that can be scary for some people. But scary can be good. The unknown is where we grow. Now, the 6th reason to do your own show is for a good critical review. A good review still carries some weight. In a musical, even a brilliant one, if you're in the ensemble, it's unlikely you're going to see your name in a review. If you're the only one in the show, they can't not mention you. The challenge can be getting them there, because if it's just a one-night only show, they might not review it, because by the time the review comes out, who's going to see it? But if you're doing a season, or if you have other dates booked in ahead, invite them early and you're sure to get someone to come along. And look, a review's more than just vanity or validation. On the back of a show I did with some friends, we were invited to headline the National Theatre Festival in Australia here. So they guaranteed our payment. They paid our transport and accommodation. They organised our publicity and TV appearances. And we had none of the logistical headaches. So they introduced us to a new audience at their expense. And that's the power of a good review. Number 7, you'll be a better performer for doing cabaret. What do I mean by that? I mean, it's one thing to be in the machine of a big musical where the audience knows what to expect, where you've got lights and costumes, sets, a band and a whole cast making it happen. But when it's just you and a pianist and you can eyeball that audience and keep them enthralled for a whole evening, you know it's because of you and not the machine around you. And as you try out material, you hone your instinct for what works and what doesn't. You refine your timing. You know, some things fly, some things die. Stories I can tell. But there's a bravery in trying, even if it's just holding your dignity together in the face of failure. But we learn from it, and we're better for it. Now, closely related is number 8. You'll be a more resilient performer. When it's just you on stage, much like a stand-up comedian, you're going to have to improvise to deal with the unexpected. A heckler, a technical glitch, a bit that just doesn't land. But building that flexibility, knowing you have the resources to keep the show rolling, to keep it buoyant, to laugh at yourself, to laugh with the audience, that's priceless. Number 9, cabaret makes us better singers. You know, in pop music, the singer moulds the song around their personal style. In musical theatre, we tend to adapt ourselves to the song, to the character, to the scene, because it's necessary. But it can come at the expense of developing a personal vocal identity. I mean, what's the point of having a great technical voice if it's devoid of personality? When we think of great singers, it's their peculiarities that make them unique, iconic. Judy Garland, Louis Armstrong, Carol Channing, Patti LuPone. Even if you don't know the names, even if you don't like them, you hear the voice and you'll never forget it. It's unmistakable. So in cabaret, we get to ask, what's the world of my voice? What are my influences, my priorities? What's my go-to style? What peculiarities can I allow myself that are uniquely my own, that make me identifiable? Number 10, and you're starting to see a pattern here. Cabaret makes us better wordsmiths. Why does that even matter? I mean, actors are given scripts, right? Well, not always. You might be hosting an event, accepting an award, introducing a song, giving a press conference or an interview, and you've got to come up with the words yourself. And they have to be compelling, coherent, entertaining, and sound like you. Watch some of the great interviewees. Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, Stephen Fry. They don't just wing it. They all have anecdotes prepared in their own voice that they can drop into conversation to sound off the cuff. And that's what cabaret can teach us, because whether it's fully scripted and honed through repetition, or whether it's extemporized around a scripted format or structure, cabaret helps us string words together that sound spontaneous. Number 11, cabaret gives us a leg up at auditions. I mean, first of all, the material fits us like a glove because we've honed it in front of an audience. Secondly, if we film it, record it, it becomes part of our audition pack. We can demonstrate how we work an audience and how that audience responds to us. And thirdly, because cabaret penetrates that fourth wall that we've spoken about, we get better at that face-to-face scrutiny of an audition. You know, in a musical, it's tempting to hide behind that fourth wall, that safety, that distance, that anonymity of pretending the audience is not really there. But in cabaret, there's nowhere to hide, and you get comfortable with it. Now, the 12th reason to do cabaret is that you learn a lot about yourself. When you decide what's going into this show, we have to ask, who am I? As a performer, as a person, what makes me laugh? What do I care about that's worth sharing with an audience? And how much of myself am I willing to reveal? Cabaret is not for the faint-hearted, and everyone will have their own idea of what it should be, but it's more than just standing there singing songs. And there's a learning curve. You know, you're going to have to learn about vocal arrangements, piano arrangements, how to talk to musicians or technicians, how to mark up scripts and set lists with cues for lighting and sound. You're dealing with venues, ticket sales, publicity, and it's a huge headache. But at the end of it, when you can say, that was me, I did that, and it was good, it's all worthwhile. So, have I made my case? Are you riled up to write your own show? Would you like some tips on how to get started? Should I bring someone in who's built a career on cabaret alongside big musicals? Leave me some questions and I'll answer them. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I do love you. Now get out there. Be brilliant.